It was the kind of winter day that felt like magic had brushed the world with its cold, white fingers. The snow blanketed the mountains in a soft, sparkling layer, and the air was crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of pine trees. Ella and her 3 friends had been looking forward to this camping trip for months. They had chosen the mountains because it was remote, peaceful, and they could enjoy some time away from the noise of their everyday lives. The group had been hiking for hours, their boots crunching in the snow with every step. They were deep into the forest now, the trees towering high above them, their branches heavy with snow. The sound of their laughter filled the air as they joked and shared stories, enjoying the beauty of the snow-covered world around them. But that was before they noticed something strange. Ella was the first to spot them. She stopped suddenly, her hand raised to signal the others. "Wait," she said, her voice low and cautious. The others paused and turned to see what had caught her attention. There, in the fresh snow, were footprints. Large, deep prints that seemed to lead into the dense forest. At first they thought it was just the tracks of a large animal, maybe a bear or a deer. But something about the footprints didn't sit right. "These look different," Ella said, kneeling down to get a closer look. Her friend James, always the skeptic, rolled his eyes. "It's just animal tracks, Ella. Probably a deer." Ella shook her head. "No, look at the shape. These are too round, and they're too big for a deer." The other 3 stepped closer. The footprints were odd, almost perfect in shape, with no sign of claws or other marks. They seemed to vanish and reappear in the snow, making it difficult to trace their origin. It was as if something or someone was walking just above the surface of the snow. "What do you think it is?" Sarah, another friend, asked, her voice filled with both curiosity and unease. "I don't know," Ella replied, "but I don't think these are normal tracks. It looks like they disappear into thin air." The group exchanged puzzled glances. There was something about the way the footprints faded in and out that felt unnatural, like something or someone was trying to hide its presence. James, trying to remain logical, shrugged. "Probably just the wind or something. Snow shifts all the time. Let's not get too worked up over it." But Ella wasn't convinced. She stood up and dusted the snow from her knees. "I'm following them." "Are you serious?" Sarah asked, her voice rising slightly in alarm. Ella nodded. "Something doesn't feel right. I need to see where they go." With a determined look in her eyes, Ella began to follow the mysterious trail. Her friends hesitated for a moment, but eventually decided to join her. They walked carefully, eyes fixed on the footprints in the snow. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to grow denser, their trunks twisted and gnarled. The further they walked, the more the air grew still, as though the forest itself was holding its breath. "Why do I feel like we're being watched?" Sarah muttered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Ella didn't answer. Her focus was solely on the footprints, which seemed to grow more distinct with each step. But just as the trail was about to disappear into a cluster of thick bushes, they found something unexpected, an opening in the snow-covered ground. "Look," Ella whispered, pointing ahead. "There's a cave." The group approached cautiously. The entrance was hidden by a cluster of low-hanging branches, but once they stepped around them, they saw a dark opening, just large enough for them to crawl through. A shiver ran down Ella's spine, but her curiosity outweighed her fear. She crouched down and peered inside. "It's a cave," James said, his voice echoing slightly as it bounced off the walls. "Should we go in?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Ella took a deep breath. "We came this far. Let's see what's inside." With a sense of anticipation, the group squeezed into the narrow opening. The air inside the cave was colder, damp, and smelled of earth and stone. Their flashlights flickered in the darkness, casting long shadows on the walls. The cave seemed to stretch further than they had expected, twisting and turning as they ventured deeper inside. "Something's not right," James said, his voice hushed. "I feel like we're not alone." Ella shushed him. "Stay quiet. We need to find out what's going on." As they moved deeper into the cave, the air grew heavier, and their footsteps echoed eerily. Suddenly, Ella froze. "Look," she whispered, pointing at something on the cave wall. There, carved into the stone, were symbols, strange markings that looked ancient and unfamiliar. They seemed to glow faintly, as though they had been touched by some otherworldly force. "What do you think these mean?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Ella said, her voice tight. "But I think we've found something that's been hidden for a long time." Suddenly, they heard a noise behind them, a rustling sound, like something moving in the darkness. The group froze, and for a moment, all they could hear was the pounding of their hearts. James turned to Ella. "We need to get out of here. This is too weird." But before they could turn back, the ground beneath them shook. The cave walls seemed to rumble, and the faint light from their flashlights flickered wildly. "What's happening?" Sarah gasped. Before anyone could respond, a voice echoed from the depths of the cave, soft, haunting, and unfamiliar. "Leave. Now." The group turned toward the sound, their hearts racing with fear. But there was no one there, just the darkness and the eerie glow from the symbols on the walls. "We're not alone," Ella whispered. The voice came again, louder this time. "Leave. Now. Or you'll never find your way out." Ella felt a cold sweat break out on her skin. "We have to go. Now." With their hearts pounding, they turned and hurried out of the cave, the mysterious footprints fading behind them as they retraced their steps through the snowy forest. The snow had begun to fall again, but the footprints were gone, vanished without a trace. As they reached the safety of their campsite, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple. The air felt lighter, but the fear still clung to them. "What just happened?" Sarah asked, her voice shaky. "I don't know," Ella said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I think we uncovered something that was never meant to be found." The group sat down around the campfire, their breath visible in the cold air. The flames flickered and danced, but they were too uneasy to feel warm. The mystery of the footprints, the voice in the cave, and the strange symbols weighed heavily on their minds. They could hear the wind howling through the trees, but the sound only seemed to add to the eerie feeling that something was watching them. "I can't stop thinking about those symbols," Sarah said quietly, her eyes fixed on the fire. "What do you think they meant?" Ella shook her head. I don't know, but I think someone or something has been hiding something in those mountains for a very long time. James, ever the skeptic, finally spoke up. Maybe it's just an old legend or some kind of trick. It doesn't have to be something supernatural. But what if it is? Ella replied, her voice tinged with uncertainty. What if we just stumbled upon something that was never supposed to be uncovered? As the night deepened, the group couldn't shake the feeling that the mystery was far from over. The footprints had vanished, but the cave and its secrets remained. Who had left those strange marks on the cave wall? And why had the voice warned them to leave? There was so much they didn't understand, and yet something told them that the truth was buried deep in the mountains, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover it. The forest around them seemed peaceful again, but deep down they knew that whatever they had discovered was far from over, and somewhere, deep in the mountains, the secret they had stumbled upon was still waiting for someone to uncover the truth.